Hi everyone, welcome to Monday 22nd of September review. It's been a little bit, haven't had a mic, but let's get into it. Um, Probably first things first, monthly hasn't stopped, but we've had 2 weeks to the upside uh, in August and July, which I don't think is which is a signal, but it's also over the summer where things are supposed to be lighter. So really, if you took the whole summer as a set, nothing's happened there. And then we get into September. Uh, which is looking like another small candle, but we've still got a week left to play. They can do anything. But just keep mindful if we see kind of three wicks, look, one small, big, one more, and then it dipped. Wick, 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 and then it went down. So that seems to be worthwhile to note. So probably first things to first, watch out monthly if it closes on a wick. Let's have a look at the weekly. Weekly is interesting. A lot of people will, there's kind of two ways to think about this. A lot of people will take this as the prior range high, uh, which has a lot of cachet. And there's also this where it broke out and it got stopped before it went higher. So I think both of those are valid, but as a zone, you kind of look at it in terms of aggression. And if we're looking for upside, I like this because it should find support here. And as we can see, it broke out, it found support, not enough, went to the next level, uh, theoretically broke back into the range, but not really very far. And then it's right back. Yeah, it just hit the VPVR of this higher range, this little consolidation block, and it's right back to retesting. This is not strong. That doesn't mean it's gone, it's just not that strong. When you look at something like this uh, here, which just went forever, came back briefly, barely touched the top of this, didn't even, and then it was off it goes. So now it's giving people a lot of opportunities to get in, a lot of time, and we haven't moved very far. So this breakout's a bit weak. That doesn't mean it can't hold. Like we've still got masses of money pouring in it, and Trump printing a trillion, literally in the next 10 years. So you never know. But we finally have some weekly div, and I think that's worth looking out for. It's not something I want to get my fingers burned on. Daily's kind of the same story. It touched first support, but took it to a new high, and then immediately broke down. Uh, Found a second support around this level and the launch level. So there was a few things, but didn't go very far. This is really small, and now we're back down here immediately. Don't love it. Don't love it. There is still this trade. You could still play a prior quarterly high. You could still try and play monthly open. You could try and pay, play, prior monthly low or even the VPVR of this bottom range. Anything around here, right? 104 looks untouched, but it's it's looking a bit weak. So I kind of feel like the only real level I'd be interested in playing is higher time frame, much higher. And it's something around here. I think this one's gone. It's been tested. It's not that important. It's a wick. This is the candle body close. A lot of people pay attention to that. And you have all the way down to 104. I think these are warning signs, but if you really want to play something, I think anything from 104 to 102 is respectable. But I'm keeping my nose clean. We've had a bit of a breakdown today. That's just kind of like whatever. It's just not very much. Not very much going on. Not very exciting. Not where I'd put a lot of time. Monthly on F. F's had a bit of a rockier year, but it finally found itself. But yeah, it didn't even break the high. Come on, sorry, it did break the high, but it didn't close above the high. Just trading in range still. I think the breakout is, if it does something like this, you just get in here. And you take the risk. Uh, weekly looks a weekly's really interesting at the end of the day because if it breaks down below 3,900, where it got stopped 3 times, and you can see that's where we're getting a lot of trading action right around these wicks, but they're just wicks and they're front running this kind of consolidation. But it's an important level. It's not even doing a proper retest. This level has cachet back to 2021, around 39.25. And anything around here is great, but how long do we need to be doing this crap? The last bit also gave you weekly div, so we've got weekly div on BTC and death. That's a lot. From a daily point of view, it hasn't even broken out of this range down, but I mean, how many tests do you need? I don't love it. This whole thing is just crap to trade. It's unenjoyable at the best of times. Not even bothered. I think there's probably something around 34 to 39. That's probably pretty long, but I'd probably look at it as a set all the way down to this kind of consolidation level where it launched from, if you're really interested in getting involved. Let's get a low time frame for a minute. Ooh, that is interesting on the 12 hour. 12 hours is a really great level for BTC on RSI. But maybe not here. I don't think anything's changed. It's been in this huge range for forever. So once it breaks, I'm not personally inclined to get that involved. Uh, that's a huge consolidation. That's a lot of time for people to mess up. Um, that's a lot of built up exposure. But also you don't want it to break down. So I kind of feel you're stuck. Look, there's opportunity down here. I love this, but down here I think there's opportunity. This breakout, there's opportunity. But here, I'm just not loving it. I keep seeing F balls all over the place, and it's just not warranted, in my opinion. Okay. Two others I want to hit very quickly is Sol and Pump Fun. I'll have a look. So I think Sol is extremely interesting because it's had such a long consolidation. A lot of false breakdowns, or not even breakdowns, just wicks to the downside where they've just found a lot of absorption. And it's been on this tear. Uh, I don't think that's correct. I actually think I like this line. So we can see the breakdown level, 133 in my view, showing a lot of support. I mean, you can move it around a little bit based on your preference. It probably works better there at 123, but I was trying to front run. So I put it up from my mental view. You can see the closed and the breakdowns and the retests, and Sol in particular loves doing big retests rather than wick retests. Full bodies. But yeah, it's been on a big tear. And if we just look at the monthly, look, nothing wrong with that. This, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is kind of 8, and this is kind of 9. So 9 retests of this level, and it's just held. This is probably worth a punt when it gets down there. But up here on the monthly, you're not looking at anything. On the weekly, also nothing that I'm too entertained by. There's probably this intermediate level here that you could take a swipe at if you're really bullish, but I don't love it because why not here? Why not here? I don't think there's anything up here that I I'm that interested in on the weekly. I still think your best bet is some sort of mega problem down here and hope whoever's been buying this holds. Daily. Daily provides, I think, a bit more opportunity. Um, we've seen Sol just loves to go on big runs, and it doesn't care. So I think it's all about the texture of the drops. If the drops are slow, you can start looking for levels. The most obvious level for me is kind of what I'd consider the. I mean, this is clear. Just someone was buying on a 10 trend, and then they took the monthly open and never let it go. But so there is something to that monthly open. There's something to 205, but I'm not going to be super interested until kind of here. I think you have to play it super wide. So I think all of these markets are really hard right now and not really that interesting. We'll just take a look at the lower time frame just for shits and giggles. Yeah, I mean, the only real one on the 4 hours per monthly high and this consolidation, and that's already been hit. So it's got to go now. You could probably try for some 186 of the wick. Sorry, 786 of the wick if you really want. Uh, but I don't. Um, Pump fund though. I think this is very interesting as a concept. Don't even need to go that high. There's not enough price action. So pump fund. Pump fund raised $1 billion. Uh, Even if you just stick that in the back at 5%, you've got 50 million, which they're not using to do buybacks. They're using something else. Let me just make sure I get that up on the other screen to make sure I have that. From market cap perspective, there's still probably a bit of room just because of how much volume it does. We'll get to that later. But ICO price is clearly the biggest level once it breached this consolidation. I wasn't paying attention to it at the time, but I would say this consolidation is always what I'm talking about. The breakout, get in on the consolidation, and hope you just warrant it. But it's come down a long way. The team's been selling. Apparently a billion wasn't enough. They needed to also dump on their investors and token buyers. So great for them. I still think there's opportunity here and here for some really high time frame trades. This is one of them, so you don't miss. This is consolidation that's worthwhile looking at. And the second one is this. Also, you can see a lot of distribution happened up here, and a lot of people got stuffed. And then as soon as it touched, everyone unloaded. So there's no rush, in my view. I think the rush comes down at 0.5 and 0.4. But this is super speculative. I would go smaller, and it's high time frame, so I'd buy spot. Let's switch it up to fundamental analysis now. Cool. Wow. So nothing really we've just torn through one of the support levels on Coinbase. The next one's 110 from a buy block, buy orders point of view. They tore right through this level and then immediately got put back. So 110 looks like it's vaguely supported. So BTC buy blocks 110K. Usually should get some sort of reaction. So if you can tie that into any other trades you're looking at, which if we see is kind of the bottom of this range, yet it kind of makes sense to wick through that in reverse. Let's look at ETH. Don't find ETH too helpful in these, but just to see if anyone's doing anything crazy. Nope, nothing. So inflows. Let's do weekly. So, I mean, the BTC inflows keep on trucking. I mean, 886 million in last week, 2.3 billion the week before. Yeah, pretty big. Seems somewhat toppy. But we've seen these before, so it's worth noting that there's still general pull, and that's even without Sailor's buys. ETH is also interesting. 500 million, 600 million. The general trend is still a lot of support, so I still think you have to be bullish, but these things can take a bit of time to play out. Solana is another interesting. So someone's buying into Solana. They're trying to do what they did to ETH and Bitcoin, absorb some of the cheap stuff, and then it looks really good on the balance sheet. And the Solana ETF is starting to see some inflows start to flow through here. 19 million on the 18th. I mean, it's still small-ish, but for the size of Solana, that's not immaterial. Pump Fun. This is the other one because they're doing buybacks. But you can see, I don't like purchases, and I don't like it. Look at the revenue. Took huge up in August. Now it's starting to trend down, which could mean that there's less interest, that people have had their fun. Pump Fun is basically a gambleized shitcoin gambling circuit, so it's really extractive. But they have bought up 7% of their own supply and probably dumped a fair bit of it. I'll need to check on how many tokens that is. Yeah, they have definitely dumped more tokens than this. Billions of tokens. So, I mean, that's almost a false economy.